Monday, September the 12th, 1988, has gone down in the annals of Jamaica's history. It was the day Hurricane Gilbert came, and with it came death and destruction. Like the eastern and central sections of the island, western Jamaica, too, got its share of battering from Gilbert. Communication was at a standstill because of blocked roads and damaged utility poles. However, Anthony Miller managed to reach the west 4 days after Gilbert struck.
In western Jamaica, the hub of tourism, people moved quickly to pick up the pieces of their lives. Public service and telephone company crews were busy working on utility lines. PWD and volunteer teams cleared the roads of debris. In many sections of Montego Bay, water and electricity supplies soon returned, for some not fast enough. Tourism, the lifeline of many who live in these parts, is reeling. Scenes like this are not untypical of what many hotels in the West went through on the 12th of September. At Sandals, as at other hotels that took a hard knock from Hurricane Gilbert, repair work was quick to start. Ewart Mackay is the general manager of Sandals.
Sandals, although pretty well hit by the thing, we will be up and running and operational in 3 weeks' time. As you can see behind me, there's construction work. We have 3 teams of construction workers working here now. And in fact, we're going to work a 3-shift system. There's lighting coming in from Miami. We should be in pretty good shape. We're very optimistic.
Holiday Inn's general manager, Kendall Dunn, was also confident that the inn would reopen in time for the all-important winter season.
The roofs on most of the buildings have been destroyed. Severe water damage in most of the beachfront rooms. A lot of broken glass windows, partitions on the east side of most of the buildings, which put us at a situation where we probably have about 350 rooms either destroyed or pretty well near it.
Up to Saturday, there were still visitors staying at Holiday Inn, seemingly unperturbed and ready, they said, to make it Jamaica again.
It was all right. It wasn't that bad. We handled it. Everybody stood in the ballroom, and then they put everybody downstairs, and then everybody screaming and yelling, ah, carrying on. A few windows were broken. Our room was fine. There was no problem.
Has this ruined the vacation for you?
Not at all. No.
Will you come back?
Yes, of course. I'm good in November.
In Hanover these days, one of the most ravaged and pathetic sights has to be Lucy Hospital. Once a charming colonial-style old building, now a virtual wreck. Both the staff and the dozen or so patients who remained there seemed dazed when we visited.
We've just arrived here and in somewhat of a state of shock. I didn't expect anything quite like this. Most of the building has been destroyed. Apparently the roof is gone. We have a temporary roof, but that apparently is leaking. And right now we're just in the process of trying to salvage whatever medications we can.
Much less apparent until one got inside was the damage done to Cornwall Regional Hospital, Western Jamaica's largest medical facility. These were once wards. Fortunately, the patients who occupied beds here were evacuated in time, some to corridors on the hospital's ground floor. Here again, there was evidence of overseas concern in the wake of Gilbert.
We're with Medical Relief Ministries from Seattle, Washington, United States. We're down here trying to assess the amount of damage. Communications between here and the United States are none. And so we're down here to try and find out what way we can help the best. We have a team of doctors, nurses, and paramedical personnel, which will be down here for this next week doing the assessment and treating in the different areas.
Nowadays, it's rare to meet anybody unaffected by hurricane blues, especially people staying at shelters. But some try to make the best of it.
I think that is the most beautiful thing in life. Your house and your mother and everybody on one roof. But if you don't have nowhere to sleep or go, then it's not good.
Yeah, but what is it like here? How are conditions here?
Well, it's good here because sister help us, and we're not sleeping outside where the star the rain to drop on we. And we're under good protection here.
Here and at other shelters we visited in Western Jamaica, people were beginning to be impatient to leave. Give us the means to rebuild our homes, they said, and we can then begin to rebuild our lives. Anthony Miller, JBC News.
In this report from St. Thomas, or rather from Mark Thomas, we journey to St. Anne, Trelawney, Clarendon, and Manchester.
The Garden Parish of St. Anne didn't suffer much damage from the hurricane. In the parish capital, St. Anne's Bay, there wasn't much evidence that Gilbert had passed through that town. But we were not too late to witness this woodworker Alric Scott trying to rebuild his workshop.
I get plenty shortfall in business because through that the people work, damage, I have to go and build it all over again. So I don't get any help, so I don't know, I have to go and try again.
You know, I first I was something like this, I don't know, you know, but it's an experience here, you know, so I'm on there, so that matters most, you know.
The St. Anne's Bay Hospital didn't fare too badly during the hurricane, but most of the schools in the area took a beating. In St. Anne's Bay Square, the market bustled with activity. Soon after we crossed the border of St. Anne and Trelawney, our destination, Falmouth. At about 10 miles out of the Trelawney capital, we stopped at the small village of Cooper's Pen. Here, the scenes were similar to those in some of the flattened communities of Portland and St. Thomas.
All my belongings gone, mattress and all such. All my stove mash up. The kitchen blow off. Bathroom, everything gone.
Falmouth was badly hit. 3 people were killed during the hurricane. The town clock was destroyed. Many roofs were lifted and fallen trees and debris lined the streets. Extensive repairs will have to be carried out on the town market. We visited the remains of the Falmouth infirmary, which housed over 80 destitute golden agers. On the morning of September 12, matron Amanda Thompson acted quickly to move the inmates to the William Knibb Memorial High School.
When I got up, I heard the bulletin where we were, the breeze was 90 miles from Jamaica. So I decided at 8 o'clock that I would evacuate, which I did. And by 10:30, the rain started. We had a freak storm where we were diving from zinc and what have you. But we were able to get the patients out in the rain.
The Falmouth Infirmary and morgue both lie next to the sea. When the winds and rains came, the roof of the infirmary was blown off and the morgue was destroyed.
All the buildings are destroyed. Female ward, male ward, total destruction. The staff quarters, there's no quarters at all. Office is still underwater and totally destroyed. Storerooms, assistant matron's quarters, the kitchen, storerooms for clothing and all that is destroyed. The morgue is completely gone to the sea. The laundry is also destroyed. Everything is total destruction.
Falmouth served as a major food center for neighboring parishes in the western end of the island. Word had come from the Prime Minister in Kingston that the Nutribon factory in the town should supply food to Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James and St. Anne. The manager of the Nutribon factory, Mr. Patrick Tennyson, has special responsibility for the distribution of food stamps in North Trelawney.
I would say maybe about 75% of the population of North Trelawney is my concern. Probably are in need of some form of assistance, and food stamps is a simple way, in view of the fact that there's probably going to be a shortage of food in the coming months. It should help them very much to keep their families in good condition.
Mr. Tennyson said food distribution was proceeding smoothly in Trelawney. He said food stamps were being handed out to the needy in an equitable manner.
People are getting them free. They're being distributed through the Red Cross and other organizations. Some go to the hospital, to the the people in the infirmary are now at Nib School, so they get distributed right through. And there's no question of any bias with them. Anybody who needs them gets them.
The Member of Parliament for the area has deployed construction crews on the streets of Falmouth and surrounding towns. Meanwhile, electricity and telephone service are returning to most areas in Trelawney. Mark Thomas reporting for JBC News. Days after the hurricane had struck, banana and sugar plantations all over Clarendon were virtual swamplands, a scene similar to the paddy fields of China. This will mean tremendous losses to farmers in the parish and will impact heavily on agriculture. But the hardest hit industry in Clarendon was the poultry industry. Chicken farmers report total devastation of their farms. Scenes like this poultry farm out here at 4 Parts, Clarendon, is a grim reminder today of the destruction and devastation brought about by Hurricane Gilbert. This farmer, Mr. Ludgar Parish, who operates a poultry farm in the 4 Parts area of Clarendon, is now depending on the returns from his insurance company to start all over again.
Seems to me as if they'll have to get together and possibly seek the assistance of the Ministry of Agriculture, who is always able and ready to help the farmers, to see if we can't get some soft loans to help farmers to put things together, especially those who have not got any insurance at all. If this is done, then I can see that in the months ahead, we shall have complete recovery.
Unlike many victims of natural disasters, Mr. Parish has a very optimistic view of the future.
There has been extensive damage, 100% damage to most farmers. Few have been lucky with just their roofs being blown off. Most have been demolished.
What are you going to do now? Where do you go from here?
Well, you know, sir, I believe that disaster has a peculiar way of affording people the pleasure of getting over their difficulties and looking back at it in time to come.
Thousands of chickens were drowned during the hurricane on Monday, and from as early as Tuesday morning, workers were busy not only repairing broken down coops but burying the dead. With help from the Ministries of Health and Agriculture, they set to work digging large holes to bury dead chickens in order to prevent an epidemic.
When we dig holes like we have here, like you shall see here, we're able to throw the carcasses in the holes and bury them. And we feel that that is a major step in preventing an epidemic in the area.
But despite the tragedy unleashed upon the farming community in Clarendon by Gilbert, farmers are resolute and they are willing to join hands and hearts together to restore what was taken away by the hurricane. Before arriving in Clarendon, we passed through St. Catherine, but while there were many fallen utility poles leading to Spanish Town, the parish capital was virtually untouched. By early Tuesday morning, commercial life was returning to the town. The market bustled with activity and throngs of people lined the street corners. But there was one nagging problem. Water was scarce and St. Catherine residents roamed the streets with buckets and cans, searching for the precious commodity. There were other scenes, groups of women gathering at broken lanes to wash dirty laundry. Children bathing on the pipes and a continuous line of people laden with buckets of water. The flat bridge was impassable, and the riot progress was in spring. In Manchester, Mandeville seemed untouched from the ravages of Hurricane Gilbert, except for a few fallen trees and lifted roofs. But in northeast Manchester, in communities like Cristiano, residents had to take refuge in relief shelters. Many were left homeless, and there were problems in the distribution of food from the major food center at the JDF camp in Mandeville.
On a daily basis right now that some people have gone back home out of the shelters, we probably supply about 3,000 to 4,000 people per day. We have to. And there are some people that we haven't got to, some people who are still in families that we still haven't got to. As we go out, we meet new people who are in need.
Well, boy, I didn't know that, a hurricane could wreak such havoc. And when I heard the Prime Minister announce that the damage done to the island was the worst in the century, I thought it was an exaggeration, but I've gone out and seen that it is a fact.
The parishes lying in the central region of the island were the least affected by the hurricane. Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine were not as badly hit as Portland, St. Thomas, or Kingston. Mark Thomas reporting for JBC News.
Some people may wonder, often, how does a hurricane or storm occur? Yvette Rowe tells us more.
A hurricane is a system of circular winds with wind speeds of above 75 miles an hour near its centre. The centre of the system is called the eye and is characterised by light winds and very little rain. Hurricanes form over oceans when three major conditions are present. These are ocean temperatures of above 80 degrees, immediate winds from different directions, and an outflow of those winds into the upper atmosphere. This gives us what is called a tropical depression, and it is because this could later develop into a hurricane that meteorologists watch them very carefully. If conditions continue, it will become a tropical storm and then a hurricane.
They're all cyclones, okay, tropical cyclones. Now, if it's a depression, we classify it as a depression when the wind speed is greater than 30 miles per hour. When the wind speed exceeds 40 miles per hour, we say it's a tropical storm. When it exceeds 75 miles per hour, we say it's a hurricane. But remember, it belongs to the family of tropical cyclones.